Hello and welcome to grammar class. Today's topic is finite and non-finite verbs. But first off, what is a verb? Well, in English grammar, a verb is a word that shows either an action or a state of being. For example, play, eat and feel are showing physical or mental action, so they are verbs. While be and seem denote a state or condition, so they are also verbs. Now, what are finite and non-finite verbs in English? A finite verb is limited or governed by the subject, while a non-finite verb is not limited or affected by the subject of the sentence. Now, let me explain the concept clearly. As you know, the subject of a sentence may have a singular or plural number. In the same way, it may be a first person or a second person or a third person pronoun. Now, if a verb changes its form according to the change in the number or person of the subject, it is called a finite verb. On the other hand, if a verb does not change its form, if it remains unaffected by the change in the number or person of the subject, it is called a non-finite verb. For example, I want to play, but he wants to play. Now, as you can see, the verb want becomes wants when the subject is changed from the first person I to the third person he. But the second verb to play does not undergo any change with the change of person in the subject. So here the first verb want is finite, while the second verb to play is non-finite. In the same way, he loves singing, but you love singing. Another example, the girl enjoys dancing, but the girls enjoy dancing. In these sentences, we notice how the verbs are behaving as the subject changes in number and person. In the first pair of sentences, as the third person subject he changes to the second person you, the first verb loves becomes love. So here love is a finite verb because it is changing with the change in the person of the subject. However, the second verb in these two sentences, singing, does not undergo any change, so it's a non-finite verb. In the second set of examples, as the subject of the sentence girl becomes plural, girls in the second sentence, the first verb enjoys becomes enjoy. So here the first verb enjoys is undergoing a change from the fifth form to the first form according to the subject. So it's a finite verb because it is changing with the number of the subject. However, the second verb dancing remains unaffected even as the number of the subject changes from singular to plural. So it's a non-finite verb. Finite verbs also show the tenses. In other words, finite verbs have tenses while non-finite verbs have no tenses. Now see these two sentences on your screen. John goes to office daily and John went to office yesterday. Here the verb goes becomes went in the past tense. So go is a finite verb. So we see that a finite verb is a root or base verb in the sentence. There cannot be a sentence without a finite verb, without at least one finite verb. But a verb may be finite or non-finite depending on its use in the sentence. Now study these examples. In the sentence, he reads a book, the main verb reads is showing simple present tense, so it's a finite verb. Whereas in the sentence, he wants to read a book, to read is a non-finite verb. In fact, it's an infinitive. And it cannot change its form with the change of the subject's number and person. Auxiliary or helping verbs such as am, is, are, was, were, have, has, etc. are also called finite verbs because they change with the subject's number and person in the sentence, as they help the principal verb in assuming tenses and voices. So in these examples, auxiliaries is, are, have, has are finite verbs because they serve as root verbs in these sentences. But what about modal verbs? Well, we know that modals do not change their form according to the subject's number or person. But since modals are a class of auxiliary or helping verbs, they are considered finite verbs as well. In the given examples, I can run fast and he may come home late, the modals can and may are finite verbs. Now let's learn non-finite verbs. As I said earlier, non-finite verbs do not change their forms according to the number and person of the subject. Non-finite verbs do not function as root or base verbs. There are three types of non-finite verbs, namely infinitives, gerunds, and participles. To begin with, the infinitive is a non-finite verb. It's formed by to and the first form of the verb. For example, we want to play. Here to play is an infinitive. It's a non-finite verb because it will not change with the change in the subject's number and person. In this sentence, as you know, want is a finite verb because it changes according to the subject's number and person. In the next example, it is bad to quarrel. To quarrel is an infinitive which is a non-finite verb because it does not change according to the subject. The gerund is also a non-finite verb. It is made from the fourth or ing form of the verb. Both infinitives and gerunds are called verbal nouns because though they are made from verbs, they are used as nouns in the sentences. In the sentence, I enjoy swimming, swimming is a gerund. It's made from the fourth form of the verb swim. In this sentence, enjoy is a finite verb because it changes according to the subject. But you see, the gerund swimming will not change its form even if you change the number or person of the subject I. Similarly, in the second example, avoided is a finite verb, but the gerund meeting is a non-finite verb. But make no mistake, in both these sentences, swimming and meeting are used as the objects of their respective verbs. So they are nouns here. And finally, viewers, participles are also a type of non-finite verbs. There are two types of participles, the present participle and the past participle. Participles are verbal adjectives. They are made from verbs but used both as a verb and as an adjective. The present participle is made from the ing or fourth form of the verb. For example, the girls are dancing. In this sentence, verb be are is a finite verb, but dancing, which is the fourth form of the verb dance, is a non-finite verb. Because if you change the number of the subject girls to singular girl, the verb be are will become is, but the present participle dancing will remain the same. So it's a non-finite verb. Similarly, in the sentence, the bird was flying, verb be was is a finite verb, but the present participle flying is a non-finite verb. The past participle is the third form of the verb. In the given examples, were and has are finite verbs because they will change according to the subject's number and person. But the past participles defeated and taken are non-finite verbs as they will not change according to the subject. If you liked the video, please subscribe to my channel for more grammar videos. Thank you.